This is Bruno Sammartino, and you're listening on InYourHeadOnline.com.
Welcome to In Your Head Wrestling Radio on the Internet Icon, the pride of the Pilgrims. I'm a little hoarse at the moment because I got a cold, but I'm still Jackie Jones, along with my right-hand man.
1 inch biceps, the power goat. How about that? Huh?
I'm very impressed. And joining us for the fourth time, one of our favorites here, In Your Head legend, and New England Wrestling Hall of Famer, Mario Mancini.
How you doing, guys?
Good. It's always great to have you here. It's been a couple of years.
Always good to be. I love being here. It's great to be here. You guys let me air it all out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I hope we never get you in trouble.
No, man. Who's going to get me in trouble? Forget it. Who's going to call me, Vince?
Just actually, speaking of that, has anyone ever said anything about some of the stuff you said on the show about, like, Pat Patterson?
No one's ever said anything. And, you know, I guess after Pat Patterson zipped his pants up, they let Lombardi go after 30 years. And he hit the independent circuit, and I'm sure he's heard or seen a lot of my stuff. I haven't heard anything. You know, I've gotten pretty close to Bull James, man. We have the same feeling if we ever see Lombardi. So I got Bull in my corner. I'm okay.
Might be other people who have the same sentiment. I don't know.
Yeah.
So let everyone know, June 2nd, you're going to be, again, at the New England Fan Fest 6, East Providence, Rhode Island. And we have the link right on the website, allaccessentertainment.com. So I assume you're looking forward to being back at New England Fan Fest.
Well, let me tell you something. Probably one of the most favorite things of being Mario Mancini in my career, and it happened to come all the way at the end, is being inducted into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame in 2014. Just an honor. You know, when you talk about Joe Bruin in the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the only word that comes to my brain is class. And that's all he has. And it's a really great organization. My brother Paul Rome was getting inducted this year, and I'm going to have a few words to say about that and his induction, because we've been brothers for 34 years, you know, come out of the same wrestling school. And, I'm just really excited about it. You know, I love the Fan Fest part of it. The first year I did it, it's funny how you turn, because the first year I did it and people came up to me and said, "Yeah, man, I remember I was 7 years old. You were getting your butt kicked by King Kong Bundy. I was watching." I'm like, "Yeah, here's your autograph. You know, get out of here." You know. But I actually look forward to hearing that. I look forward to hearing it now. You think 5 years ago I didn't want to hear it. Now I want to hear how they were sitting there watching me, you know, do my jobs every week, you know. So I'm really looking forward to it. Paradise Alley's professional wrestling's gonna make a showing there. The people are gonna come down to, of course, support Roma, who's the head instructor there, and he's the booker and puts the storylines together. So everybody here at Paradise Alley is really excited, and of course it hits me a little harder because I hit the road with them in late '84 and early '85. Going up and down the Jersey Turnpike. Just talking for hours. So it's special to me. The New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame is a very it's a very big part of my career.
You mentioned wrestling school. I know you guys have the wrestling school now, you and Paul, but you guys went to wrestling school together too?
Well, I went in October of '83, and the four original were me, AJ Petrucci, Dave Barbie, and Seth Cohen, who wrestled under the name of Robbie Parliament. And all four of us came out of that wrestling school and debuted on July 31st, 1984. And I think Roma came that fall or winter And to this day, I've never seen anybody get through wrestling school as fast as he did. For an example, I went to pro wrestling school my senior year of high school. So I went from October of 83 to July of 84. And then I turned pro. Roma went to wrestling school for 6 weeks. And then he went to a TV taping.
Oh.
Well, to this, go ahead.
No, you go on.
To this day, the greatest athlete I've ever seen in my life.
So you guys both went right from wrestling school to WWF?
Yeah. That's why we went right from wrestling school right into New York, right into Titan Sports. Mm-hmm. We didn't dally in any independent things or any other territories. We went right there, and that's why when I got out in '92. I didn't do anything for 7 years until I had an opportunity to work with Bundy in the Westchester County Center in 1999. And I have the uppermost respect for independent pro wrestlers because they go out there because they love it. They, if not all of them have full-time jobs during the week. And they go out there for, $25 and they give 100% every night. And I just never delved into it that much. I mean, I go here and there, basically for friends, who wanted me there. And I kind of dabbled into it. Now I own a company in independent pro wrestling. So, being Paradise Alley. So, but yeah, we went right from wrestling school into the WWF. Yes.
Mm-hmm. No, I'll get back to your wrestling school in a second. Just wondering when you go to the WWF at like you must have been like 18 or something. What was it like?
Yeah, Vince turned 18 June 21st of 84. I graduated high school on June 20th. I turned 18 June 21st, and July 31st I was in the ring looking across at Greg Valentine. And I don't think he knew until when I did Tuesday Night Titans with Roma that I was 18 years old. And he's like, "Wow, you're only 18." I'm like, "Yeah, is that a problem?" He's like, "No, it's just watch yourself, So yeah, I was pretty. When I left the WWF, it was April 26th, 1992. Was the last match was in Huntsville, Alabama, against Rick Rude, and that was 2 months before my 26th birthday. So I left there when I was 25. Guys are trying to break in when they're 25.
Right. Yeah. Right. So when you're breaking into the WWF at 18, I assume like because you wouldn't be legal to drink, and so what's that like? Do like the other guys treat you like a kid, or they treat you like one of them, or
no? But like actually, back in '84, the drinking age was 18.
Okay.
But I never drank. You got to remember, my second professional match was August 9th of 84 in the West Warwick Music Theater. David Schultz broke my nose in two places. Actually, he dedicated 2 pages to me in his new book he just released a couple months ago.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of my welcome into pro wrestling. And what happened was about 5 weeks after that, when I was in Hamilton, Ontario for TV, they put me back in the ring with them. I think right there and then was the moment of truth, because they thought I was going to unlace my boots and say I'm not working with him. But I ended up going up to Schultz, and I reminded him that he could break it again. And he said, "It's okay, kid. It's okay." I said, No, he could break it again. You know what I mean? So I was a boy in a man's world, definitely. But, I held my own, and I listened to Strongbow, and you guys know my relationship with Strongbow. So Strongbow was sit down, shut up, keep your mouth shut, and keep your ears open, and that's what I did. I certainly didn't act like I was 18. How's that?
So, I guess you don't want to spoil the book too much, but did he talk about you in a good light in the book?
Schultz just talked about how he broke my nose. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It was a straight right to the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read that book. I'm interested in. I'm always interested in Dr. D. It's really someone from another era of wrestling.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, we're definitely have a hard time. I'm about ready to do a wrestling show with a friend of mine that I met 34 years ago. The Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, you know what I mean? And, between he and I and Big Steve Tracy, who is actually the biggest wig at Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling and the closest friend in my life. I mean, there's genuine love there between he and I, and Roma. And Perez, who's the other partner, we all struggle trying to manage these wrestlers today because they'll never know. The business has evolved, and it's evolved into what it is, even on an independent level, and nobody really knows what it was like back then, and they'll never know because it has evolved so much. So, who's concerned about doing a job, who wants to get all of their stuff in within the 8 minutes of their match. It's a different world out here. It gets a little frustrating sometimes because you just went in there back in the 80s. You went in there with your head down and did what you told, man. Let me give you an example, brother. I mean, I'm in Canada and Chief comes up and says, Mancini, you're working with the Funk Brothers. I go, okay. They're going to cow tie you, and they're going to pull your trunks down and brand your ass. Don't worry, though. It's not hot. It's just ink. What do I really want to say to that? I don't want to do that. But you did. You smiled and said, be happy to do it, And, or getting spray painted by Adrian Adonis, or my hair cut by Beefcake, or have Jake Snake all over me. You know what I mean? It's just what you did. It was stretcher matches. It's just what you did, and you were happy to do it. Now it takes a little more to manage these guys these days, and we have a couple of good guys that listen to us and a few of them and they know the deal, but so we have some guys leaving the school to go on their own and see what they do. Love them, good luck, wish you the best, see ya. I don't know what to tell you, but it's a challenge.
Did you get a bonus for getting the snake or the haircut or any of those different things?
No. Never.
How many times did you get your hair cut by Brutus?
I got my hair cut. I think I got my hair cut 3 times, but the last time I got it cut, that might have been 1989, and of course I had a mullet, and the start of 89 is when I really started speaking up, and I was complaining all the time. Strongbow and I were fighting all the time. So now I look up at the board and I see Beefcake v. Mancini, and I go up to Eddie and I go, hey, Eddie. Because now what Eddie's starting to do, he's starting to take those shears and just taking a divot out of the front of guys' heads, right? Mm-hmm. So I go, Eddie, you see this tail here? You're going to cut it off, and you're going to cut it off even. I said, I swear to God, if I hear those shears come to the front of my head, I'll wake right out of that sleeper. I'll wake right out of it. They'll have to cut the tape from TV taping. Mm-hmm. No, I'll just cut the back of your, I would tell Savage, you really got to drop that elbow that hard on me? And you go, what are you talking about? I go, come on, Randy, man, you overshoot me. You land right in my sternum. I told DiBiase, you asked Ted, I go, you really got to smack me on the back that hard to wake me up? You really? I didn't know you spy. I go, you do. You left 5 finger marks. I'm sorry. I really started. Then I started with some of the guys. They were telling me what they want to do, except for the finish. I'd be telling them, why don't you do this? You know what I mean? Right up to, when Wayne Ferris went out there with his torn pec, he didn't want to go out there with anybody but me. And I said, listen, I'll take care of you out there. Just listen to me, and I'll get you over good. And he said, okay. You believe it or not, I by that time I had a lot of respect in there.
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of guys coming up at the Fan Fest. JJ Dillon, who will be on the show later on tonight. Do you have any? Did you have any interaction with JJ?
Let me tell you something, and you know me, guys. I just tell you the truth. You know what I mean? And this is going to make me look horrible. The last Fan Fest I did,
mm-hmm.
J.J. Dillon was walking past my table back and forth, and he had his Hall of Fame ring on. And Roma was sitting with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know who that was. And the last time he walked by me, I said, excuse me, sir. And he came walking over to my table. I said, I greatly apologize. You got that ring on. Who are you? He said, I'm J.J. Dillon. I said, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't even – you must have lost a lot of weight or something. Or I didn't know. I was so embarrassed. I didn't know.
Uh-huh.
Had a great conversation at the last one with Jim Cornette. We were, I was really impressed because he was coming down the escalator and I met him at the bottom. And I said, Jim, Mario Mancini. And he goes, I know you are. I said, oh, okay. And then we were walking over to where the Hall of Fame inductions were going to be. And I just was busting the gut all the way over there, and we just had a really good conversation. He's a really good guy. And then, of course, I made the biggest mistake sitting next to Gene Okerlund at the ceremony. And I think Bruin really wanted to throw me out because walls, I was laughing so hard,
Uh-huh.
For me, I'm proud to represent it.
Mm-hmm. I think you cut out there for a second when you're talking about Mean Gene.
Yeah, I made a big mistake sitting next to Mean Gene at the last one because I said Joe Bruin probably wanted to throw me out because he made me laugh so hard it bellowed through the whole room. I was just laughing. I couldn't breathe. He was me. It was the last guy I should have sat next to.
Yeah. Did you have a lot of interaction with Mean Gene back in the 80s?
Yeah, I did. In fact, Gene came at Passerello's Quest in Orange. The WWF did a spot there with Hillbilly Jim and Hogan. And they also did a spot there with Lisa Sliwa, who was Curtis Sliwa's wife, who was interested in becoming a female wrestler, but then I guess she just didn't do it. But we had 2 things there where I really got to know him and interacted with him a lot. And then after that, when I went on the road and he was there, we always spoke. And I always talked about his kid playing hockey and everything. And yeah, we had a pretty good relationship.
Inchman, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question from the chat room. Java is dead. He would like to know, would you shoot, fight, brawler for charity?
Yeah.
That was a quick answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know what, man? I worked just as hard as he did. We had the same job. And, people saw what they saw on TV, but they never saw only the people that went there, of course, saw it, but they never saw me in a house show. And when I come back from a match, well, Iron Mike Sharpe, and we walk by Valentine, who was the Intercontinental Champ at that time at the main event, and he looks at me and Sharpe and says, how the hell am I going to follow that? I mean, I was a really good wrestler, and, you know, for him to get the opportunity to be the Brooklyn Brawler for obvious reasons, you know, that was very disheartening to me. And that's what really started my fights with Strongbow. And, you know, to me, it'll just be wrong. It'll always just be wrong. You know what I mean? Wrong. You know, and you know, I'll never forget when I went over in New Haven, and the place, I mean, the walls were shaking. When Finkel announced my name 3 feet away from me, I couldn't even hear him. And, you know, Arnie was back there with that big cigar in his mouth, laughing like the penguin, you know. And he goes, good pop, kid. That was a big pop. I go, yeah, I got a big pop, Arnie, because I live 20 minutes away. But I promise you, if I can get that opportunity, I could make a pop like that in St. Louis. I just need the opportunity, man. Just give me the opportunity. And I was never given the opportunity. And he was given that opportunity. Not only was he given that opportunity, he stayed with the company for 30 years. You know what I mean? Certainly when I was 14 years old and I decided I wanted to be a pro wrestler, I intended to spend the rest of my life in the business. You know what I mean? That would have been nice. But, you know, that didn't happen. So...
Well, what were like the other wrestlers' opinions of Lombardi?
A joke, man. Listen, guys. You're asking me dangerous questions. Dangerous questions. So I'm going to give you a dangerous answer. Joey Morella, may he rest in peace. The funniest son of a bitch in the dressing room. Gorilla Monsoon's kid, referee. He would do an impersonation of Lombardi waking up in the morning between Pat and Louie. And he would stretch his arms out and yawn like he just woke up in the morning, and then he would start chomping his lips together. When he started chomping his lips together after the yawn, all this white stuff would start coming out of his mouth. And we would fall on the floor. We would just start laughing. So Junkyard Dog would be on the floor. You know what I mean? You do in your head with Bull James. He'll tell you what he thinks of him. You know, listen, when George Scott was the booker before Pat Patterson, I was on my way. George loved me. I was tanked up. I was on my way. And then Vince fired George and brought in Pat. And you know what? I thought Vince might have went through bookers like he changes his underwear, and he didn't. My only savior that I had half a career was Terry Garvin, the assistant booker. And when I tell you guys my right hand on my kids, when they told me he was gay, my jaw dropped. I said, no, he's not. He's got a wife and a couple of kids. And they laughed at me. Garvin never gave me an indication ever that he was gay. Ever. I'd walk into the dressing room and go, Mario, quesadillas. You know, we sit there and talk and laugh. He loved me. My phone rang off the hook with Terry Garvin. Thank God for him. You know, I'll always have respect for Terry Garvin because he never gave me any indication. He just liked me as a person, and I liked him as a person, and he liked the way I worked in the ring, and so did George Scott. But when Pat came in, the ball game was over. I was just going to job out until I left. And what's the difference? You know what I mean? A couple of years after that, the jobbers were gone anyway. They were obsolete. They were gone.
No, would guys make fun of Lombardi while he was there, like to his face
in the dressing room? Oh yeah, well, yeah. But you got to understand something. You know, Chief took 3 steps, pulled his underwear out of his butt. Take another 3 steps, pull his underwear out of his hat. Take another 3 steps. So, Joey Morello would make fun of him too. We'd be on the floor until I tried to do it one time, and Chief caught me. And every time Chief got mad at me, he'd grab me by the back of the hair and pull me back. And all of a sudden, I felt somebody pull me by the back of the hair and pull me back. And he said, "Is that funny, Mancini?" I go, "What, Chief?" He goes, "You making fun of me?" I go, "No, Chief, I would never do that." So, they made fun of everybody. They made fun of Rocky Johnson. He was so pigeon-toed. Anytime he would chew tobacco, he'd get 3/4 of the can of Copenhagen in the bottom of his lip, so his lip's sticking out 4 inches, and he's walking around pigeon-toed. Junkyard Dog would do him all the time. Everybody would make fun of everyone. They make fun of me at Paradise Alley, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. Everybody makes fun of everybody in that business. Lombardi wasn't singled out. Everybody did. They made fun of Savage. They made fun of everybody. That's what the boys did.
When we had you on the first time, I think Paradise Alley was just starting as a wrestling school, and now it's like a promotion you're having. We had Paul Rome on last week, and he talked about you guys just had like a show, I think, in Mohegan Sun, and you have one coming up at another casino. Extremely fortunate
to hook up with Connecticut Power Fit Expo. We do it under their umbrella, and very fortunate to have not only the Mohegan Sun as a venue, but because of Dan Jenkins and the Connecticut Power Fit Expo, and the way they put on shows and their integrity and the quality of their shows, they go to all the casinos. So I'm hoping to market Paradise Alley in all the Indian casinos and kind of it be our trademark. Of course, under Connecticut Power Fit Expo.
Mm-hmm. That's very cool.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm. So, what's the next one coming up?
The next one coming up is 8/18/18. That's called Crazy Eights. And we're bringing in Matt Stryker for that. We're bringing in JT Dunn. We're bringing in Casanova. Holiday. Richard Holiday will be at that one. Where he's like our premier wrestler in the company, and he already did a spot at Raw and SmackDown, and this is just a matter of time for him. That's the next casino show coming up, and we're excited about it. We're bringing in Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so it's going to be a pretty big show. And I always mail a couple of VIPs to my brother Joe Bruin. I'm always so happy when I see Joe come to the shows. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even though it's hard to get a smile out of the guy sometimes, he looks so damn serious. That's why I call him Vince Jr. because he always looks like his wheels are turning, and he always, he looks so serious, But he gets things done. Joe's a great guy.
He does have a very serious voice too. I've noticed.
He does. He does, and he's talking to you like he's talking out of the tea. He's giving you the 6 o'clock news, for God's sakes. But you know what? He's got a big heart. He's a great guy. He's a very devout family man, which I love to see every now and then on Facebook. I mean, he's just a genuine good human being, and that's all we can hope for in our lives is to be that, So I'm very thankful for Joe Bruin in the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm very thankful to still be, seeing Roma every week. You know what I mean? Seeing Perez and I tacked against the Nasty Boys in 1991.
Oh, nice.
To see Perez every week, and of course Big Steve's my closest friend. So wrestling or not, I would talk to him every day. You know what I mean? But I talk to Roma every day. I talk to all of them all the time. So. I'm thankful for that, and I got a lot of good people in my life, and my company's starting to take off, and I think I got the right players in place, and hopefully good things will happen. I mean, listen, I'm just looking to be a successful independent pro wrestling company. You got some of these people that open up these wrestling companies and go, I'm going to take down Vince McMahon. Hey man, you're never doing that. No one's ever doing that. Ever, never. Okay, I just want to run a successful independent wrestling company.
What was it like to wrestle the Nasty Boys, since you brought up the Nasty Boys?
It was the shits. It was horrible. They can't wrestle. It was terrible. It was terrible. It really was terrible. And again, something I didn't want to do. They had that stinker thing, and where they raised their arms and they're moshing my face in their armpits, and I saw them at one of the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fames. I just kind of, they looked over and saw me walking by, just kind of gave them a wave. Hey, how you doing? You know what I mean? Just kept going. But, again, the hard feelings, you know what I mean? Just hard feelings because, Roma 34 years later finally took, 35 pounds off of me. At a month before 52, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. And he tried to do that for me 34 years ago. You know what I mean? And he tried hard, man. He wanted to take me under his wing and really, and I was just too young and immature at that time. And, but I would compare myself, and to see those two guys go in the ring, because they're good friends with Hogan, and they got to push because they're good friends with Hogan, and Hogan loves them, and Hogan this and Hogan that. Okay, all right. Well, what are you gonna do? I'll never book them, never.
Well, what were they like out of the ring?
I didn't hang around them much. All I can think of in my head is a bar. You're gonna laugh your head off. It was a bar in Florida, and that song "Wild Wild West" came on, and they just were acting like the Nasty Boys at the bar. You know what I mean? And I just walked away. That's what sticks in my head. I didn't talk to them in the dressing room. I didn't pal around with them. I mean, I stuck to my core. My core was SD Jones, Roma. It was Tito Santana, Kurt Hennig, Tony Atlas, Wayne Ferris, King Kong Bundy. I stayed around Bret Hart. I stayed around my circle. There were a few guys that I just didn't, Jose Luis Rivera. I just stuck to my guys. You know what I mean? The people I know that I wouldn't get any heat with or I could trust.
Mm-hmm. Sadly, Big Billy Busick passed away not too long ago. Do you have any memories of Big Billy Busick?
Well, the best memory I have is thanks to Joe Bruin and the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Nick, when I worked with him, I was his debut match in the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
I was the first guy I worked with, TV match. And it was the usual, what do you got for a finish? He showed me what he got for a finish, and I said, okay. And it's still today, my guys at the wrestling school don't believe this. It's like that's how you call the match back then. Hey, what do you got for a finish? And they'd say what you got for a finish, and you walked away because you did everything else in the ring. And they just can't conceive that. These guys go over today from the time they get in their car, drive to the shop, park. I mean, they go over the whole thing right up to the lockup, But we just said, what's the finish? And he had that stump pull, and I did the job for him. And, we went back. He shook my hand and hugged me and said, thank you, and that was it. Well, no, I'm at the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and I'm at the Fan Fest. And I'm going to the Fan Fest. And I'm walking down to the room to the Fan Fest with Nick Busick. I don't know it's Nick Busick. I have no clue. And he has no clue who I am. It wasn't until he saw me go up to my table. And Joe Bruin was kind enough to have a banner at my cubicle there. And Nick Busick came up and goes, "You're Mario Mancini?" I go, "Yeah." and he just gave me a big hug, and he gave somebody his phone. He said, please take a picture with me with him. And when he took the picture with me, he raised my hand, and, I popped up the match on my cell phone, and we watched it. And he gave me a hat from his company and a bunch of protein bars. And we just talked for a while, and he was just really happy to see me, because obviously that match being what it was his first match in the WWF. So it's kind of like what Valentine means to me. You know what I mean? He was my first match ever. So, he was just, a class guy, really nice guy, really just smiled and talked a lot. He was just a real nice, genuine guy. I was very sad to see him pass. Not as much as Bruno Sammartino.
Yeah,
but, I had to leave my office and sit in my Jeep for about 20 minutes when I found out Bruno passed away. And then we did the Mohegan Sun, and I stood behind, and I actually wrestled at the Mohegan Sun. And, we did a tribute to him on the screen, and there I was there like a 7-year-old behind that screen, bawling my eyes out, There was somebody there from GoPro Wrestling doing a wrestling documentary. It was a young girl. She came up to me after the night, and she said, I wanted to film that so badly for this documentary, but I was afraid if I put a camera in your face, you would have broke it. I said, actually, I wouldn't have really cared. I said, but unfortunately, I'm not going to cry again for you.
Yeah.
So, Bruno was everything to me.
Excuse me. Was he a wrestler you watched before you got into wrestling, I assume?
He is the reason I got into wrestling. The only reason I got into wrestling.
For people who weren't around for Bruno, like in his prime, what was it about Bruno that was so special?
Well, first off, however you slice it, whether you call me Mancini or Inzateri, I'm Italian.
Right.
So, Bruno was Italian. And I think it was my brother Ralph in 1973, when I was 7 years old. He had that little 12-inch black and white TV with a pair of vice grips on the knob because the knob broke. And he was watching wrestling, and I walked up to the TV, and he said, you see that guy in there? I said, yeah. He goes, he's Italian just like us. That's Bruno Sammartino. That's the greatest wrestler that ever lived. And, I just got hooked on Bruno. And, my brother would always wrestle. My brother was 13 years older than me, so he'd pick me up in bear hugs and backbreakers, and, he would always be Bruno, and I would be Stan Hansen or Stan Stasiak or Ernie Ladd. And it's kind of like what Dusty Rhodes said once, he said, aren't we just all marks? We're just marks in the business, So, in 1980, when Bruno decided he was going to retire and his last match would be against George Steele in Chase Stadium, it was then in my living room at 14 years old when I looked at my family and I said, I'm going to wrestle for the WWF. I'm going to be a professional wrestler. And they all laughed at me, all of them. I said, no, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I'm going to be the next Bruno Sammartino. Well, here we are in 2018, guys. It didn't happen that way. And now you go on Google and it says the top 10 jobbers in wrestling history, and I was number 2. So it didn't work out that way. But you know what? I am who I am, and thank God for the guidance of Joe Bruin when he called me in 2013, because I turned him down, and I said, I don't want to do it. Thanks for the offer. And he said, come on, man, you got to do this. And I said, I don't want to do it. And I think I told you guys the truth in one of the interviews. I didn't want to do it because I would be beside myself if I went there for 6 hours and I signed 2 autographs. I would have been crushed. And I said, nobody wants to see Mario Mancini, Joe. Nobody wants to see him. They want to see the bigger stars. They don't want to see me. He goes, you're wrong. You're a novelty. You're wrong. And man, he was wrong. I mean, I was wrong. I was wrong. He was right. And I'm glad I listened to him. And then in 2013, at the, toward the end of the day, he came up to me and said, I'd like to induct you next year. And I said, you got it. You got it.
Do you think all that also helped change not only your view on doing an event like that, but did it help your view on wrestling at the time?
When I did the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame the first year?
Yeah.
No, it didn't change my. What happened was, and Joe will tell you, especially the year I was inducted, to go there and do that all day and then get inducted at it. Joe and I were at the front door of the hotel, and it was almost like a pathetic scene because I saw all of my friends. I saw all of them. I saw Demolition. I saw Jake. I saw Ted. I saw Tony Atlas. I saw Tito. I saw everybody. I saw mostly everybody. So I'm antsy Sunday morning, and I look at Joe and I go, Joe, we got to go to the next town now. We got to go to the next town. Almost like a pathetic, demented mental guy. I said, I got to go to the next town. And he just looked at me. He said, I'm so sorry, Mario. There's no next town. There's no town. And it means a lot to me. It really does. I'm kind of sad that this is a farewell fan fest. I mean, not there'll always be a Hall of Fame induction, but the fan fest is. I love people. There's a lot of people out there that don't like people. I'm not one of those persons. I like people, and I like to watch people and kind of study them. And I guess I get that from the wrestling business because you're always pulling ribs, and you're always watching out that somebody's not working you, trying to work you over. So I study people, and I enjoy people, and I enjoy some of the characters that come up to my table. I mean, one year I had one guy. He bumps into my table. He slides it over about 2 feet. And I go, whoa, easy. He goes, I was in the corner of the ballroom, and my friend came up and had an autographed picture of you. And I said, hey, man, where'd you get that? Where's he? And he said, he's all the way over in the corner. He goes, and I came running over here, man, I almost dropped my hot dog. I go, yeah, you don't want to drop your hot dog, brother. You don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I get a kick out of that stuff. You know what I mean? I get a kick out of the fans. I really do. Listen, none of us would exist. None of this would be happening. Pro wrestling wouldn't be where it is if it wasn't for the fans. And when you get to my age and you get an appreciation, okay, you give back that respect to those fans. You give respect to Rich Palladino, a ring announcer. He sent Roma and I a picture from 1985 of me, him, and Roma. And when he was a ring announcer at one of our shows, is when he brought it to our attention. He said, will you guys do the same poses? It might have been 2016. Was, will you guys do the same poses that you did 31 years ago? And we took another picture with them doing the same poses, and he put it on Facebook side to side. That's amazing. Some woman sent me a picture of me walking into the Boston Garden. I had my Passerello's Quest. I said, what's this? Oh, I stood there watching before while all you guys were walking in. I snapped pictures. I saw you on Facebook. I thought I'd send it to you. You know what I mean? It's a great thing. We wouldn't be anywhere we are without the fans.
We actually have a caller here on the line who will be at the Fan Fest with the Song Man.
I believe Mario knows who it is.
John Garabedian, I believe is.
There you go. What is up, Mario?
What's up? What's up, Garabedian? You hunted me down on here. What's going on?
Well, you didn't think I was gonna miss you after all this because you're on the air, just so everyone is aware. But what do you think was the moment in your time? Like, I say this to everyone, like, it's kind of like a big moment for you, the first one, like, when you first arrived ever in any business, like, is considering WE, like, maybe you said into your head after you went back through the curtain and said, wow, I finally made it.
That when I realized that moment,
yeah, it was kind of like
when I had that feeling that I finally made it.
Yeah, it's kind of like wow, I can't believe this just happened.
Well, I'd have to say one moment was Howard Finkel saying, now I'd like to introduce Mario Mancini, 2014 inductee into the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. While I was walking up there, I'm like, I can't even believe I'm here. As far as wrestling goes, it would have to be when I was in the dressing room at Madison Square Garden and Vince McMahon came up to me and said, get dressed. And I said, what? He said, get dressed, I need you. And I worked with Tony Atlas in Madison Square Garden. It was then when I came through that blue curtain that I said, wow. You know, those two moments.
Oh, very big for that one. But yeah, well, I won't take any more of your time, as always. But it's always great having you on, and it's always a pleasure to be talking to you, as always, back on any other show, as you know, with Fog and everyone. Great having you back.
I'll be at the Fan Fest this year, Songman, so I'll get to meet you.
Oh, definitely. I'll be searching for you. I'll be the stalker. Right. It's Mario Mancini getting interviewed by Jackie Jones.
There you go. I'll see you then, Songman. Good to hear from you.
Yep.
Bye.
Yeah. Take care.
Did he ever sing you a song before at the Fan Fest?
Oh, listen, he didn't sing to me in person at the Fan Fest, but I've heard him sing many times before, week after week after week. Like I said, I'm going on to greener pastures with Big Daddy, known as the Guardian of Chaos. There's a small station in Middletown, Connecticut, WCNX. We're going to do the Mario and Chaos show, talking about the past, present, and future of professional wrestling, mainly Paradise Alley. It's not going to be a podcast. And, you ask me about wrestling, and I know you always want to know, but believe it or not, you guys are the veterans I need to learn from because I'm just a rookie in this thing, and I'm not looking for. You know what, man? I love Joe Bruin. Bruin just sent me 2 messages because I saw something on Facebook about the Fan Fest, and it said a farewell, and I'm like, man. So Bruin just inboxed me here. I saw on the top of my phone. He said, Mario, that's not the farewell. I can't pull the plug. Good for you, Joe. Don't pull that plug, brother.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'll be there. And listen, I will be there every single year. And I'll be there at the Hall of Fame in a suit because I love representing the New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I really do. It means a lot to me, and especially this year, inducting Roma. There are not a lot of people in my life that I've known over 30 years. And the people that I do, they're brothers to me, and they're very special to me in my life. And when I go up there to say a couple of words about Roma, I just hope I don't get too choked up, but. It's going to be, Paul Roma, he was underused. You could say he went to the WCW and was 2-time tag team champions and he was one of the 4 horsemen. I get it. But as far as the WWF, you guys got to remember something, okay? And this is the God's honest truth. God's honest truth. They gave Perfect his gimmick, and he walked up to Roman and said, "This isn't my gimmick, it's yours. I shouldn't have this, it should be you."
Oh.
Kurt Hennig said that to him.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody agreed. Because let me tell you something, nobody had that body. Not one person in that dressing room had that body. He was a freak. He was unbelievable. There were times that Roma would go out there for 18 minutes. He'd come back in the dressing room, and I'd take my finger and run it down his back and come up with nothing. And go, "Man, don't you have sweat glands?" I mean, he was the most amazing athlete I've ever seen in my life. And he had the attitude, the never quit, attitude. And he just had all the right stuff, man. And because he wasn't gay, because he wasn't blood, because he wasn't friends with Hogan, you got to remember something. And what I tell you is that I'll probably use it when I do his intro to the Hall of Fame. I brought him to the TV for the first time, and we're sitting there in Poughkeepsie, and Hogan walks by, and Roma looks at me, who was never a wrestling fan ever, and looked at me and said, "Who's that?" I go, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Who is that blonde guy?" I said, "That's Hulk Hogan. That's the heavyweight champion." He goes, "Oh." I go, you working me? You ribbing me? He goes, "No, I don't know who that is." That's how much he knew about pro wrestling. Me, I walked in there July 31st. Tony Altomar goes, "Mario, this is Chief Jay Strongbow. You listen to every word he says." And I felt like looking out over at Tony going, I know who the hell this is. I was 9 years old going to Stanford High School watching him wrestle. I know who the hell he is, and I'm looking around and I see Bruno and Gorilla Monsoon, and I was starstruck in there the first day I was in there. I mean, after a while that wears off, but Roma didn't know anyone, no one. He went through bodybuilding before he went professionally, got out. He went to try out for the New York Jets. He almost took Mark Gastineau's head off. So the Jets told him to leave. He knew he was an athlete. He was just looking for his niche, and he tried pro wrestling, and he went with it. And you know what? You want to talk about memories or how you feel today about the business, or, you guys interviewed Roma. I mean, the guy's got 2 titanium knees, and he broke his vertebrae. You know what I mean? He gave his life. We all gave our lives to this business. You know what I mean? So, he was dedicated to his craft. Have you ever seen anybody else climb the ropes with no hands?
I thought he's great. Not just because we had him on stuff. I always thought he was, very underrated. I mean, I know he had a good career and stuff, but I always thought he should have been much bigger, bigger star. I always thought he was a good member of the Horsemen. It just, much bigger, much bigger. Sure wish he got a lot bigger, because that would help the school, right? Inchman, we got some more questions here from the Facebook and the chat room.
We got one from Abdullah Shuli. He wants to know, what do you miss most about your WWF days?
Let me tell you something. The wrestling got in the way. I would actually get agitated sometimes because I would have so much fun in the dressing room with the camaraderie. I'd have a blast in there where, they'd say, "Mancini, go by the curtain. You're up 3 minutes." And I'd have to look at him and go, "Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back." And right in the middle of something, I'd be like, "Damn, I got to go out there and wrestle now." You know what I mean? That's what I miss the most. I try to create that atmosphere in my company. And we do have that atmosphere in my company with the guys. And that's what I love the most to this day. We have another show this Saturday in East Haven, and when I walk into that dressing room, You know what I mean? Although I won't be working, when I walk into that dressing room, it's who's stiff. Usually what I say when I walk into a dressing room that's full, I go, guys that can work, go to the left, stiff guys, get dressed to the right, and everybody starts laughing. And that's what I miss the most. I miss going on the road. I look forward to it once a year, jumping in the car at Roma and driving 14 hours to Indiana to Brian Costello's promotion out there, IAW. So that's what I miss. I miss the camaraderie,
Joseph Bruin, he actually has a question for you. He wants to know, what was the atmosphere like leading up to the first WrestleMania in the dressing room?
That was nuts. That's a great question, man. And it was crazy. It really was crazy. We got sick of Cyndi Lauper coming down to the dressing room all the time because you didn't know who was naked, The guys just decided to let the teacher a lesson one day, and they just let it all hang out. So, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? It's like it was electric. It was electric. It was unbelievable. Is setting up for it and just watching them put this thing together was incredible. Meeting everybody. I mean, I met Tina Turner. I met Joe Piscopo. They all came before WrestleMania. They were all hanging around. I met Danny DeVito. It was really, as they say in Goodfellas, how do they say it? It was a grand time, or it was unbelievable. It really was. It was fast paced. Watching all the promos for it, and going to New York City to the Waldorf Astoria. They Mario, we need you. Where am I going? You're going to Manhattan to the Waldorf Astoria. I'm like, what? So me and Gino Carabello jump in the car and we go to the Waldorf Astoria in New York. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing here? We were wrestling in the ballroom. It was their first promotion for the Dolls. So we were doing a show for the toy company.
Oh, awesome.
Right. So it was really, it was really unbelievable. It was a lot of fun. And, I was actually proud. The last TV taping prior to WrestleMania 1, Strongbow came up to me and he said, all right, kid, this is it. I go, what do you need, Chief? And he goes, I need a stretcher with Orndorff. I go, what do you need? He goes, I need him to pile drive you on the concrete floor. I said, okay. And Orndorff goes, you okay with that, baby? I go, yeah, as long as it's you, I'm fine. He goes, you going to be all right? I go, I know what to do, believe me. My head won't touch that floor. He goes, all right, baby, okay. So we went out there and did it, and that's the last TV taping the people would see before that closed circuit TV showing. I didn't say pay-per-view, closed circuit TV viewing of all the theaters all over the place. And arenas that had closed circuit TV at WrestleMania 1.
Got another question from Joseph Bruin. He wants to know, was there anyone during your WWF run that you never got a chance to wrestle that you wanted to? I kind of always wanted to work with Snuka. I always wanted to work with Snuka. I would have loved to work with Strongbow. I would have loved to work with Chief. I would have loved to put him over, I'm trying to think of the baby faces I would have wanted to work with. I would have liked to work one-on-one with Piper the most, I think. I would have loved to work with Piper. I worked with all of them. Jesse Ventura. I worked with Harley Race. I think I would have loved to work with Piper.
I don't know why I never did a job for him, but I would have loved to work with Piper.
That is weird. You know,
Yeah.
he didn't do too many TV matches.
I job for everybody else, so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't do a lot of TV matches, though.
Piper didn't. No.
Yeah.
I think I caught one right cross from Piper one time breaking up a fight. I was in the Garden before WrestleMania, where there was a melee of the main event, and we all jumped in the ring. I was holding back Mr. T. And I think I caught a shot from Piper, but that's not exactly like just working with him. I would have loved to just work with him.
Yeah. That was the one wrestler I had a poster of on my wall was Piper. That was my favorite.
Great guy. I mean, great guy. Quiet guy in the dressing room. But he was a great guy. I like Piper, and he had a lot of good ideas. And listen, he was great for the business. I mean, he was tremendous.
Yeah. Weeble from the chat room, he wants to know, do you feel you were bullied in the WWF, or if so, who bullied you the most?
Well, Schultz broke my nose. I was never bullied in there. You had to pay your dues. So, for example, if there was a dressing room with an area to get dressed in with chairs, but on the side, there were side rooms with couches and stuff like that. All the guys that were over would go into those rooms, and the rest of us would be outside in that dressing area outside those rooms. And, it took about 2 years for me to get into one of those rooms. Pro wrestling is built on dues and respect. So, like the rookies I teach on Monday night, Roma and I have a formula. I teach the rookies on Monday night. When I feel like they're good enough, I release them to Roma, and he teaches them on Wednesday and Saturdays. And I always like to say I give them a foundation, because it all makes sense, doesn't it? What did I do? I took bumps. So who's best to teach you how to take a bump than Mario Mancini? So I teach them how to take bumps, hit the ropes, turnbuckles, go through the middle of the ring, over the top rope, basic standing moves, and then I release them to Roma. But these guys, we have a show on Saturday. They all are to be there at 3:00 to take that ring off the trailer and put it up. They do all the grunt work, and pro wrestling is all about respect and paying your dues. I don't exactly call that bullied. Did Dynamite Kid smack me around a couple of times? He did, but that was my fault.
Sorry, I muted myself because I'm not feeling very well. So we got a lot of people here at the at FanFest. Maybe we get some stories about them. Howard Finkel will be there.
Howard Finkel, he inducted me into the Hall of Fame, and he's a dear friend of mine. And he said that when he inducted me in, my dear friend, you know what I mean? And he's a special guy. He's a company guy. I think he's the longest tenured employee at the WWE, and we can never forget, he's the one, when they were trying to make up a name for this monster show, he's the one that came up with the name WrestleMania. He took it off of Beatlemania, and he said WrestleMania, and they went with it, so Finkel was an integral part of the WWE and the wrestling world. He's a very dear friend of mine, and I look forward to seeing him.
There was some documentary out recently, and they said one of the working titles originally that Vince McMahon had was like the Colossal Tussle. And I just can't imagine if they would have went with that. If we'd be talking about the Colossal Tussle, 35 or whatever.
that's what I hate about the wrestling business today. Because Hollywood's there and everybody's given a script. And in my day, you had Vince was sitting at the head of the table. You had Finkel. You had Monsoon, Strongbow, Patterson, Stolen. All the agents were there, and they were doing production, and they were coming up with the angles and the storylines. Perfect guys. They've been in the business all their lives. They know the psychology of professional wrestling. Hollywood doesn't know the psychology of professional wrestling. Mm-hmm. So to have a guy like Finkel there, was invaluable for a guy to have a brain like that. I mean, even the way he inducted me into the Hall of Fame, he said, I have something real special for you. I hope you like it. And he said, if you were a rising star, in order for you to get there, you had to make one stop. And if you made this stop, you knew you were going to get there. And that stop was in Manciniville. Once you went to Manciniville, you knew you were on your way. You know what I mean? So Howard comes up with a lot of clever things. He put a lot of his heart and soul into that company.
Paul Roma's not only being inducted himself, but also Hercules, his tag team partner. And do you have any memories of Hercules? And I thought that tag team was amazing.
I love Ray. Everybody loved Ray. Everybody loved Ray. Ray would never cause any heat. He had about 7 kids. He was just a good guy. He kept me up all night in Chicago one night. I was pretty pissed then. I won't tell that story, but Ray was a down-to-earth guy. He just wanted to work and make a buck. He really was. And I was always happy to do a job for him. You know what I mean? Because he was so grateful. Some guys you do a job for, they just shake your hand after, hey, thanks. Okay. That's why one of my proudest moments was when Neidhart went up there in 2014, because he was inducted in our class. And Jose Luis Rivera and I were sitting there. And he said, without Mario Mancini and Jose Luis Rivera, there is no Hart Foundation. They don't exist. And then Valentine, in his elegant way, the only way Valentine knows how to do it, he goes, yeah, what Neidhart said about those guys, yeah, I feel the same way. But, yeah. Yeah,
that was an amazing team too. I thought Power and Glorious. It's still one of my favorite tag finishers, the superplex into the big splash.
Yeah, not only that, Roma was great for that team because he could talk, he can cut a promo, and he was good for that team. And he and Ray were very close. Just before Ray died, Roma was going to go and look for him, but it was just too late.
Let's see here. Leap and Lanny Poffo will be there.
Gentleman, great guy, great to work with. He was he's one of those guys you went to high school with. You know what I mean? Just a great guy. He was Lanny. Mm-hmm. He never wanted any special treatment because of his brother. He didn't want to be known for his brother. He was just Lanny, and he was a good guy. He's just a real gentleman. Just a picture perfect professional.
Mm-hmm. Marty Jannetty.
I like Marty. Marty never was offensive to me, but Marty's a little nuts. Who else is going to be there? Who else is going to be there?
Sean Mooney. I'm not sure if you guys.
I do not know.
I thought you came in after.
I don't know him at all. Yeah, I don't know him at all. Is
Now,
Tito or Tony there again?
Tony Atlas, I believe, is going to be there.
That's my brother.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't have any heat with him, but that's my brother. That'll always be my brother. Joe Bruin sees me and Tony Atlas hanging around at his function constantly. That's my brother. I love Tony.
Mm-hmm.
He loves shoes. He loves shoes, and I love Tony.
Does indeed. So, any female listeners out there, bring some nice shoes and make Tony a happy man. I got a question here. Joseph wants to know any memories of Ed Cohen.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think I ever told you guys this in my other interviews, but Tony Altomar, the guy who trained me, and he worked for Titan Sports in concessions. And, we were in the wrestling school one day, and I had already turned pro. And he goes, I got to talk to you, kid. I go, what's up? He goes, did you sign a contract? I said, yeah. He goes, there are wrestlers all over this country. They would kill to be you. They would kill to give the opportunity to just walk into the office. You live in Milford, right down the street from Greenwich. Go to the office. Once a month, twice a month, go to the office. Let your face be seen. Go to the office. So I said, okay, because I knew he was going to be there anyway. And I would go to the office. And I'd end up sitting there with Ed Cohen. What's going on, Mara? Listen, Ed still owes me one. It's a very sad story. A girl I went to high school with came to see me probably in 1990, 91, and she needed a kidney transplant. She went to Hartford to see the state representatives, and they gave her the New Haven Coliseum. So she came to me and said, I need you to hold a wrestling show for me. I need a kidney transplant in New Haven Coliseum. So I called SD, and I said, SD, we got to have a wrestling show at the New Haven Coliseum. And Ed Cohen called me at my office, and he said, Vince is going to kill you. He's going to kill you. Get out of there. I said, Ed, what am I going to do? She went up to Hartford. She needs a kidney transplant. What do you want me to do, man? He goes, I don't care what you do. Get out of there. Get out of there. He's going crazy. So, just like what I did with Rita Marie, I ended up siding with Vince. And I pulled out of there, and we put on an outside show in a big park, and it rained cats and dogs. Cats and dogs. Hard. I mean, hard. And about 13 months after that, she ended up passing away. But, yeah, I was sitting next to Ed at the last Hall of Fame. Ed was on my left and Gene Okerlund was on my right. And the most embarrassing part is I had to go up to Joe Bruin and go, who's the guy in the wheelchair? He said, that's Ed Cohen. I go, no way. 'Cause Ed was a pretty thin guy. The sad part, to give you a little insight of the wrestling business, Ed Cohen said, you move that show and we'll supply all the talent for it, whoever the hell you want. And that's what really made me cut the deal to pull out, and they didn't give me anyone. Even though poor, they never gave me anybody. That's that. Even when Vince's lawyers called me from Philadelphia and asked me if I was going to testify for Rita Marie, and I said, I don't know anything. But what if you get subpoenaed? I go, I don't know anything. I know nothing. I have no recollection of anything. They go, okay. And then Strongbow called me right after that, and he said, kid, you got a payday coming. I said, okay. I'm still waiting for that check.
Do you still keep up with wrestling? Do you still watch it? The TV wrestling?
It's funny. I had a conversation with Big Steve just yesterday. And he goes, Mario, you should change your attitude because you own a company. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't watch wrestling on Monday and Tuesday because you don't like the product or you feel like a mark. I'm not going to lie. He goes, you really should watch it to see what the trend is so we can model some students after what they're doing in there. I mean, not copycat it, but we have the brains to kind of work around it and get something similar without it looking like exactly the same thing. I said, you know what? You're right. I'm going to start watching wrestling.
So have you been watching it, or this just happened yesterday? So
it just happened yesterday. You know, I watched the girls' match tonight. And I was very antsy and irritated because the girls that we teach, we say, if you start screaming in there and every punch you throw, we're going to kick you out of the ring. Do not scream. Oh. And we don't teach any wrestler, male or female, to hit the rope square because you're going to break your neck one day. And that's all they do is hit the rope square. And that's wrong. That's just dead wrong. You have no control. So I get a little irritated by hearing, they're throwing forearms going, I'm like, what is that? What is that? I was going to watch the AJ Styles match, but I figured talking to you guys was more important.
Yeah, I missed it too because of the show. Yeah, I talked to Mario Mancini.
Oh yeah.
Watch this another time.
Did you see the Andre documentary?
I did. I watched it twice, and Tony Altomare was in the beginning of it. I watched it twice, and it was very well done, and they were very kind. At the same time, they let you know. And a lot of people came up to me after that are friends out of the wrestling business and said, they said exactly what you said. I said, yeah, Andre had no middle ground. He either liked you or he didn't. And if he didn't and you were in front of him, he'd go, get out of here. Exactly what they said on the documentary. Exactly what he would do.
Yeah.
But it was very well done. And I knew about all the bathroom stuff. I mean, they spared him by not telling people that he, pulling the curtain in the airplane, he actually had to do the other thing in the bathtub and run the water because he couldn't fit on the toilet.
Yeah.
But they were kind to him. It took me. It took almost a year for Andre to just say hello to me. The way I broke the ice with Andre is I was coming back to the ring at a house show. And I sat down, and of course I was just catching my breath, and I heard, "Hey." And I looked over, and he was looking at me, and I went, "Yeah, boss." He goes, "You work hard in the ring." I said, "Thank you so much, boss. That means so much to me. Thank you." I go, I wouldn't have to wrestle another day. I go, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And he just nodded at me. And after that, I got a smile and a hello every time I saw him.
That's very cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed the documentary.
Yeah, it was well done.
Mm-hmm. So coming up June 2nd, I'm going to be there. It'll be my first time meeting Mario in person.
Yeah.
New England Fan Fest, East Providence, Rhode Island. Looking forward to it. I'll be there for the Fan Fest, then for the Hall of Fame ceremony, and I hope people listening who are in the area can come out and be there as well. It's gonna be an awesome time.
Listen, I will be there with bells on, and I'm very excited for it. Very excited for that night. I know Roma's got a ton of people coming in. Paradise Alley, everybody involved, of course, out of respect, unless you have a dire emergency, Roma's getting inducted, so you better be there. So, it's going to be a great night. And I look forward to seeing all the fans there and poking fun at me and, signing their encyclopedias and signing my 8x10s to them and taking pictures with them. I just wish, if I had one wish, for it to be perfect, without question, would to have Shu there. But Shu has passed away, and that's the only thing I'm going to feel missing at that fan fest. And Joe Bruno knows exactly what I'm talking about. God, do I wish Shu was there. But that's about the only thing that's going to be missing. It's a big part to be missing. But I look forward to seeing everybody. I look forward to talking to you guys all the time. I feel privileged that I've done my 4th show now. It was a little nicer than the other 3. Although the Lombardi part might have been a little more graphic this time. But it's always an honor and a privilege to be on with you guys. I really appreciate it.
It's always an honor to have you. You're definitely one of our favorite guests.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
I appreciate it, man. I really do.
You're very welcome. And we'll have you. I'm sure there'll be a 5th and a 6th, just like there'll be more fan fests we found out.
Yeah, thank God Joe Bruin inboxed me that, man. That not only was I happy to announce that, but I was happy to see it myself because I live for it, man. I'm trying to hook Joe Bruin up with Connecticut Power Fit Expo to do it at the casino. You know what I mean? I'll help Joe Bruin out any way I can to make sure this happens every year.
Very cool. Good to hear. And it's good to hear from you. And we'll talk to you very soon. And I'll see you in not too much time, about a month from now.
All right. I look forward to it, brother. I look forward to it.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk to you.
Hey, listen, this is Paul Roma, and you're listening to In Your Head.